Hey guys, Travis here. Today we're going to be talking about something very interesting. Review Tech USA made a video about this about a week and a half ago, or somewhere around there. It was a while ago, but it wasn't too long ago. Anyways, this video is going to be talking about that video games. He made an interesting video talking about how PCs are dying, sort of not the sales, the PC sales are down, but the PC market is picking up again. And I just want to start off by saying that, I don't really think video games as a whole are dying, because you think about it, everything's going on the internet, and that's just how technology's changing. And because of that, you got people that are making video games and software and hardware. It's if anything, if video games were dying, then this whole thing wouldn't exist anymore. And not to mention, over in Japan, for example, there's plenty of people that are still making video games. Just because they're not localizing them doesn't mean that over here in this generation isn't going to stop playing them. There's people that will keep playing them because they'll understand that that's how technology is. Everything, as long as things are done on some sort of mobile app or some sort of software or hardware of any kind, then you got yourself a program that people can interact with and have some sort of entertainment fun with, or use it for education and all that. PCs are getting cheaper, sure, but at the same time, though, technology continues to evolve, because humanity is not perfect, but it continues to succeed in what we are improving on to this day. So the way I look at it, video games aren't dying, they're just improving. There's so many of them that already exist. Not to mention, if everything's eventually going to go all digital, but, of course you're going to have piracy, even though I buy my games, but, I definitely don't agree that piracy is killing the market as much as I think it's really more of the game designers. They do make bad decisions, with DLC and all that, and it causes people to want to pirate stuff, then it's really the game designer's fault, not really the piracy market. But again, like I said, I buy my games, and I back them up legitimately, so it's not I'm not buying the games. I always import my games. But I'm going to tell you this right now, the only reason why some video games are so damn expensive to begin with is because people love to price gouge and shit like that. It's only in America, I swear. Any other country, and their prices would be much cheaper if people weren't greedy. Let me tell you. Here in America, at least, some people want over in Japan, they can technically start off with a game that could be that expensive, but they drop drastically in Japan because people don't price gouge, and because they think it's dishonest and all that. And I agree, it is dishonest. For example, if you can sell the exact same game, but it's just in a different language, and maybe the Japanese version even has more content in it, and they're selling it for $10, or 1,000 yen, which in this case, why should people turn around and sell it for over 100? You know what I mean? Take Chrono Trigger, for example. Great fucking game for the Super Nintendo, right? I got the English version and the Japanese version for less than $10, complete in box and everything. I must have got really lucky on that, because just to get a cartridge of it nowadays is almost 200, the English cartridge, almost. It's crazy. I know it's a great game, but it's definitely not worth that price, though, in some aspects. Another good example could be a game like Mega Man X3 for the Super Nintendo. Just the cartridge alone is $250. You have the box and everything, it's almost $1,000. You can get it complete and boxed over in Asia for $20. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even compare. Okay, I know they're two different languages, two different consoles, sure, or two different markets, sorry, but, just to give you a few examples, people just price gouge. But, I know that's what supply and demand is. That's how it's always been, but, I'm not really worried about it. But at the same time, though, it's hey, if people want to pay more, then that's their problem, not mine. But I wish you the best of luck figuring that out. But as far as people saying video games are dying, though, I don't see how they can be when you got people that are constantly making them, and people have been making fan-made games for a long time, especially if people like PewDiePie and Markiplier are popular, just for that reason alone, and it's just encouraging more people to want to jump into that field. It's kind of like what I was telling my dad earlier, he knows that YouTube's a real job, because, he's seen what people are capable, but I was showing him the game theorists not too long ago, And I mean, I just asked him, I said, I mean, how is it that, people they work for minimum wage, and then there's people that quit their full-time job for marketing, they didn't go to college, and Like, some of these people make almost $500,000 a month, and that's with fucking taxes included. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, how do these fucking people figure this shit out? Like, I mean, okay, keep in mind, I am jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I am jealous of some of these people on YouTube. I really want to know how the fuck these people figure this shit out. Because, and that's kind of why I'm here on YouTube. Because I want to tell people everything I know. But it's like, like video games and all that. It's like, man, I just really wonder how some of these people figured out that, because you go 20 years ago. I used to think that when I was a kid, when I was growing up, that none of this was going to last forever. Video games were going to die out, and people aren't going to play these games anymore. Boy, how wrong were we? Let's see here. People still make them. People are making more money. Most views on the internet, aside from porn, is actually coming from video games. So, how's that for you? And video games isn't just because people got nothing better to do with their time. It's just because they're just a form of entertainment, just, in the shape that you can express it. And it's actually a very good symbolism you go by. Like, take Pokemon Sun and Moon, for example. It's a game. It's not real, but it's like, I've probably put almost 1,000 hours on that game, and I still can't stop playing it. It's addictive. It's fun. For $39.99, I got it day one. I ain't fucking complaining. I love that series. So if people are inspired to keep playing video games, then there's a huge fan base for them. Not just Pokemon, but just video games in general. I mean, maybe certain aspects of video games are dying. Like, for example, maybe people are getting sick of having to buy, DLC and shit in some aspects, and maybe pay full-tail price for them at pre-orders. I know GameStop's, just because people, like even Best Buy and Walmart and all these other companies, like, if their stocks are dropping as far as video games go, it's because everything's going all digital eventually. And I mean, I know people say it's not going to happen, but it is going to happen at some point, as much as I don't think it's gonna, but at the same time though, people will still make video games on like indies. I mean, the market will survive somehow. It's not like, people aren't gonna do it, because if you think about it, there's just too many people that are still interested in these things. Again, if people like take Undertale, for example. I'll give you another example. Look at Toby Fox, for example. I mean, he took a game that wasn't even that popular, Earthbound in this case. And then he made his own hack, and he made the game. He brought in a huge fan base, and because of that, now the Earthbound series is even more popular, because that was the inspiration for Undertale. Was that, people were like, oh, Earthbound was what inspired Undertale. So if there's a huge fan base for Undertale, then now there's a huge fan base for Earthbound, because that's where it originated from. So, it makes sense. So in Toby Fox, I don't know how much money he's made. He's probably made almost $10 million. But I mean, like, these people are young. Mind you, these people, people can say they have a job, sure, and maybe they love what they do. But I mean, when you see people that are making this much fucking money in this field at this age, in that amount of time, somebody has to, people had to have known something. Like, this just doesn't just happen. Like, I mean, these people had to have known how this shit works. Even people like PewDiePie, whether you love him or hate him. I mean, look at, like, the fact that, he could just upload anything and he gets millions of views. How did he figure that shit out? I don't know. I mean, I do know how he did it, but at the same time, though, it's like, geez, man. It's like, we humans underestimate what we're really capable of doing. Luck and skill combined. It's ridiculous, but the way I look at it, as far as video games go, somebody had a great idea when they first created video games. And, going back to the Atari days and the Odyssey, it's like, even before those times, just the idea was just to play a game to pass the time. And now it's like, look at where it's turned into. Like, I mean, just because people play video games doesn't mean that's the only thing people do. Like I said before, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And people are more than capable of doing one thing. I mean, I could play 2 games at once and still do other things. But my point is this, people, just because people tell you that, it's not a real job, or that video games are dying, well, if it was really dying, then people wouldn't be making as much money. And there wouldn't be so many opportunities with this industry I don't even want to think you want to call it an industry. It's more like an empire. But it's, that's just what I think about the whole thing. Video games, they're not dying. They're just expanding. And, maybe some people are taking the wrong approach towards them in some cases. Because again, like, if everything's going all digital, the technology isn't there, but it's unavoidable that it's going to happen, or inevitable, then we really need to evaluate how we're going to get around this. But it's going to happen because everything's going on the internet. I'll give you another example really quick before I go. I want you to think about this. Places like Blockbuster and Family Video. Family Video was a it was essentially like Blockbuster, but in its own way. There's even movie rental facility places that are going out of business because they are, and you could rent video games there, mind you, are going out of business because everything's done online now. If everything wasn't done online, and then maybe I could believe that video games wouldn't be as successful, but even before the internet existed, they weren't as successful. They were still successful somehow. But even when the internet came out, then it was even more marketing, and that was what fucking killed, like, magazine subscriptions, and hell, even GameStop's even got to run for their money now. Some people say they're going out of business soon, but I don't know. I have yet to see it. But as much as I don't like GameStop in some cases, but I know in a lot of cases, sorry. But PC games are, just not even that, but like, the cost of PCs are going down, and people are just making even better technology that you can just you can still make video games with it and all that, like virtual reality, even though the technology's still not 100% there, but it's even better than what it was fucking 20 years ago now. When did the Nintendo VR come out? Or not the Nintendo VR, the virtual boy BB, so something like that. But anyways, the way I look at it, PC gaming not gonna die, but consoles aren't gonna die either. Hell, as long as ROMs and emulators exist for that sole reason, you can do anything. You can make any game as long as you have a program to run it and you have a program that interacts with it, coding. So, for example, the program will be the emulator and the game will be the ROM or ISO, depending on if it's a CD or a cartridge. But, video games aren't dying, people. They might be changing, but that doesn't mean that they don't still exist, and that doesn't mean that they're not coming out with newer innovations of them either way. And not to mention, we could always go back and play the ones that already exist. You'd be surprised. Go on GameFAQs and pull up a console and look at how many fucking games there are. It's ridiculous. I think the PS2 had over 18,772 games or something like that, somewhere around there. It's ridiculous. I'm still playing PS2 games I've never even heard of. But that's just to give you an example. What I'm saying is this, people. Just because you find something that, just because you don't know something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But at the same time, though, if we were to take into consideration, like, all these games that have existed but people haven't played them, take a look around the industry and really take a look at how many games exist right now that you didn't even know about. You might be very surprised at what you didn't know existed, that if you are just willing to play it, it'd be actually worth it. So, like I said, if you have any questions about any of these games or want any recommendations, subscribe to this channel. If you like Pokemon Sun and Moon or are expecting tutorials, subscribe to this channel. And if you like video game updated news like ASAP, then subscribe to this channel, because I'll be talking about a lot of key factors in technology, trying to get a jump start on this channel, but I'm just trying to help people out the best I can at the same time. But anyways, hope you guys have a nice day, and thanks for listening.